Hey, Ananya, welcome. We are delighted to have you here today.
Hello, Professor. Thank you so much. It's absolutely my honor.
Great, Ananya. It's such an honor to actually interview a pop star at a place like Oxford because we don't have too many of them here. Um, so to start off with, I'm fascinated by your journey from being a singer-songwriter to a businesswoman. So can you tell us a little bit about the journey?
Absolutely, Professor. It's been a beautiful roller coaster. I don't know whether you're aware. I think we were just talking earlier. I studied actually. I read economics and management at St. Catherine's in Oxford. So when I got the invite to talk at Side Business School, where I've actually had my financial analysis classes, um, it was like a whole circle, and it was a feeling that I really can't explain. So this is 100% totally my honor. Um, so right after Oxford, actually, while I was at Oxford, I used to before that actually I had taken a gap year, and that's when I started my maiden venture, Swatantra, basically a microfinance company, which now sort of we've gotten into a lot of other things, but it started off as a pure play microfinance company. And That's where my journey in the business world started. Um, After which, when I was reading economics and management at Oxford, I had a really hard time with my mental health. And that's when I started really relying a lot on music. It was very cathartic for me to pick up the guitar and actually sing about how I'm feeling. So before tutorials, after tutorials, whenever I would have free time, I would sort of drive down to Camden or Brixton and do a little bit of um, just singing around. And um, One of my breaks, I came back to India, and before I knew it, I got a deal with Universal Music India group. So that's how the entire music journey started. So that's pretty much how everything. And from there, both the journeys took flight in their own ways. And about it's been I think Swatantra has been 12 to 13 years. Uh, Music has been about 9 years. And just about 3 months ago, I decided to just take a sabbatical with my music and focus solely on the businesses that I'm running because it was getting a little bit too much. Everything was getting a bit too much. And I wanted to prioritize. I wanted to sharpen my proposition. I really wanted to hone in. And that's how basically, that's sort of the framework of how the journey has been.
That's great. So, you started Swatantra very early in your life, and you're still running it. Tell us a little bit about it. What does it do, and what are your proudest achievements there?
Absolutely. So I started Swatantra when I was 17. So I couldn't even get onto the board of directors. I remember I went and spoke to the RBI, and it took a year to get the NBFC MFI license at that time. Um, Professor, I think consciously there were two reasons. Subconsciously, the fact that I come from a business background, maybe sort of business is sort of what I hear and speak, and that sort of was always there. Consciously, the two reasons. Number one is that um, I come from a lot of privilege, and I've always held a lot of, while growing up, I had a lot of guilt within me. Why am I in this position, whereas the girl just outside my home literally has no food and nothing to wear when it's pouring and it's raining. So what have I done to deserve this? And that sort of really it hit me. And so I reached a point at 17, I guess, where I was like, okay, instead of letting this guilt take over and brood, why don't I actually take action and do something about it? And so microfinance seemed to fit the bill of financial inclusion, of um how do we, lack of a better word, empower people at the bottom of the pyramid who banks actually don't bank, who actually need the money, who don't want to make more money, but who actually need the money. um, and my granddad has always said, and it's a very famous Chinese proverb. I'm probably going to get it wrong, but um, feed a man a fish, and he'll eat for a day. But teach a man how to fish, and you'll feed him for a lifetime. And that's pretty much what we do as Swatantra. Is we give a loan. to a woman to start her own business, to become financially self-sustainable. And what that does is basically it pulls these people out of poverty. So that was the number one reason at that time. The number two reason, which I was very sort of hesitant to talk about till a couple of years, but it was a really large reason. Being born in the Marwadi community, I'm sure, at Oxford India Forum, people must be knowing about Gujaratis, Marwadi. So I am half Marwadi, half Jain. What I observed, especially in the Marwadi community, nothing good or bad, it was just an observation, is that before marriage, a woman was very reliant on her father financially, and hence couldn't make her own decisions. Post marriage, she was then very dependent on her husband financially and couldn't make any decisions. So basically, she was always under someone's control. And I think very early on, I realized that if an individual, man or woman, or anyone really, any human being, can be financially independent, it just gives them that much more freedom to do whatever they want with their life. And that was another reason why I chose microfinance and why I chose to fund women in rural and semi-urban India to become financially self-sustainable. So these were my basic two reasons. And like I said, we started off pure play microfinance. So we used to give a loan of, it started with, I still remember, first 10,000 rupees. And they use it to start a parlor, for sari business, for trading, for various different things. And then after 5 or 6 years, I acquired a micro housing company. And that's just fascinating to see how people feel when they finally own a home for the first time. And then we have home extension loans, vehicle loans. So it's almost a gamut of financial services that we provide to the unbanked. So we basically bank the unbanked, and we try to give them a product that has a little bit of a value proposition compared to our competitors.
Great. That sounds fascinating. And what you said, it's about a self of identity that people lack if they don't have financial freedom. And it's more than the financial freedom, it's that that sense of identity that is so important, right, for mental health and to feel part of society. Yeah, what you said is fascinating. It's wonderful. And it amazes me that at that young age, you had that maturity to actually realize that that was a key thing. It's a fascinating story.
I want
Thank
to add one more thing, because people, for students listening to this who are just, aspiring, having dreams. When I started at 17, most of my competitors were in their mid 40s, men in their mid 40s, and everyone said, "What is she getting into? It's not going to work." Rich father's daughter, which is true. And I said, "Okay, but I truly believe in what I'm doing." Started with 10,000 rupees with a seed capital of 5 crores, which has now been paid with, I think it's X 11 times. Today, we stand at an AUM, a joint AUM of over $2 billion. So that's the power of, I would say, being true to a vision, seeing it through. And also, I would say how micro steps, and in this case, literally micro loans, can eventually have such a macro impact. So if you have a dream out there and you believe in it, and it either solves a problem or it provides the world a solution in a better way, then I would really urge everyone who's listening to this to go for it.
Great. No, that's fantastic advice. You said something about rich fathers and all that. Someone once told me this. They said, money never solves a problem. It's people who solve the problem. Money helps, but at the end of the day, it's people who solve a problem, right? And so, speaking of which, so you obviously run a company, and the company has people, and you have to rely on people to do a great job. How do you create a culture that actually is that buys into your vision and delivers that vision?
Absolutely, Professor. I don't think I'm the first person who thinks this, but I truly, truly think and truly believe from the bottom of my heart that my people are my everything. Without my team, without my people, I would be, I mean, I think, at the end of the day, a leader is just as good as their people are. And I think my job as a leader is to continuously be reinventing myself, reinventing my thoughts, so that personally don't get stuck in my own biases. I think there's so many biases that can come up